Man, we are back in the studio, back in the booth. I got my boy Antonio Pittman here. And man, it's been so long since I've been in this chair to come and talk to you guys. Thanks to Lettermen Row for allowing us to be here. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to talk about a number of issues, a number of topics, but none bigger than what we're dealing with right now in this country. The death of George Floyd has sparked so much conversation about race relations, race issues, systemic racism, things that have plagued our community, plagued our families for a long, long time. And I know you guys probably sitting there thinking like, oh man, this is Letterman Row. I don't necessarily want to hear about what's going on. I want an outlet. But I think it's important. It's important to talk about what's going on in the country. Because if you don't talk about it, then you're not going to know. And then you're going to be oblivious to it. And there's going to be no change. So I think it's important that we have these discussions. We're going to talk about everything from sports, like I said, to racism, to COVID-19 and how that's affecting sports and how it's affecting everyday lives. Let's dive right into this thing, man. Pitt, man, how you doing, man? And dude, you work on the front lines of what's going on right now outside of the pandemic. So you work on the front lines of the pandemic, but you work also on the front lines here with the Columbus Fire Department. So you see the protesting. You get calls for the fires and to go into people's homes and see what's going on here. Is it a race situation? Is it violent? I mean, what have you seen and what's been your thoughts on everything that's transpired with this George Floyd situation and the multitude of protests in which we've seen in Columbus?
I think the protests are needed. I think it's about time that our voices are heard. It's a hurtful situation that every time as an African American male, um, you get pulled over by the police or just a normal routine stop, you're in fear for your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't think that's normal. But what's not normal is that my kids have to sit there and scroll through the internet and watch YouTube videos of murder porn. You know what I mean? It's a consistent thing, whether it's Alton Sterling, whether it's George Floyd, whether it's Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, and the list goes on and on
Right.
and on. You know what I mean? For multiple of years now, it's been a domino effect, and it's just been a lot of anger building up. And everybody wants their voice to be heard, and I think it's time that we peacefully protested, and a lot of things have gotten out of hand, but I think there's a huge difference, and I think that needs to be addressed also. There's people that's protesters, and then there's looters,
Right.
and those are two different people.
Completely
It's
different.
two different people. There are people that's there because it's a large group of people, and this is a huge distraction, and this is their opportunity to go steal.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's people that's out there that's doing the
100%
right
right.
thing and protesting for our rights and for our voices to be heard. And it's a tragic situation, and I hope more people would open their eyes up to the situation at what's going on right now, opposed to guys sitting there saying, "I don't understand
Mm-hmm.
why." You know what I mean? Like that's the toughest situation for me. I think I worked last Monday. No, it wasn't Monday. Sorry, it was Saturday. Was the day I worked, and a lot of guys on the shift was just like they just didn't understand. And to me, you know what I mean? Like I kind of I felt some type of way from the I don't understand situation because it's it's self-explanatory. You know what I mean? You sat there and what you watched was the assassination of a man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He choked him out pretty much. He put his knee on his throat and pretty much choked him until he couldn't breathe anymore. He killed that man standing right there, and multiple people witnessed it, and not only people who witnessed it, but we had to witness it from YouTube and other outlets. You know what I mean? And that's extremely hurtful for someone to sit there and be like, I just don't understand. And it's me as an African American man, as a firefighter, as a father, you know, it's it's hard to process the information and then feel as if I'm secure with with everything that's going on as far as we work in a business and where we have to trust each other
Right.
and counting on each other and being there for one another. I don't understand what's going on, but you want to listen to rap music and you want to identify and you want to reap the benefits off the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And the same lyrics that's going on within the same lyrics that they're spewing out that you're listening to, and it's going into your head that you're mumbling along with, is what's really going on in real time now. And when that happens and you want to take a step back from that and now you don't understand, it's kind of like I feel as if I don't know you.
Bro, it's so difficult to sit there and to have somebody say they don't understand why this is this way, why this is going on when, you know, we're in a modern day age right now to where you have social media. This shit is on the news on a weekly basis.
Well, it's only been going on for like 400 years.
Exactly. But I'm talking even now more so than ever, we're able to see it real time, what's transpired and how it's affecting individuals. And for people to say, I don't understand, well, maybe this guy should have just listened and complied with the police. Or maybe this guy should have just got out the car. Maybe this guy should have just put his hands behind his back. Well,
for one, he was handcuffed.
Exactly.
For two, once he's handcuffed, he's pretty much surrendered himself. It's illegal to hog tie anyone, which I don't. They didn't hog tie him, but once he was sprawled out.
Maybe not this situation, but there's been other situations where
cats there's been a lot. I mean, you can go on YouTube, you can go on different outlets and find a lot of different scenarios to where excessive force was used and police brutality and is real. But I mean, enough is enough, and people are fed up. Whether you're black, white, whatever. I mean, people are angry, but it's extremely hurtful. It's at my older department that I worked at in Middletown. I remember day one, Captain Ludwig. You know what I mean? He set me down, and he was extremely real about, in some parts of this town that that they don't want you in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, but you ever face that, we're not gonna go in either.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna stand behind you. You know what I mean? And that was some real assurance right there. You know what I mean? And I feel as if, you know what I mean, the guys I work with now, same assurance from them. You know what I mean? I don't feel any different. I do see the Facebook messages in which they disagree with what's going on, and that is extremely hurtful. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna shy from that. When a guy sits there and he's in his mid-40s and he comes to me and he says, I don't understand and I don't know what's going on, I look at that as a sign of ignorance.
It is, but how don't you see it? You see what's transpiring, and you can't be that oblivious to where you're in your own world to where you don't know what's taking place outside of what you deal with on a daily. Because everybody listens, everybody watches the news. Well, not everybody watches the news, but everybody, about 95% of people have some access to social media to where you see what's transpired. Because you can't say, I don't know what's going on. Well, you just heard about it. So you know there's something going on. It's up to you to take that due diligence and to say, you know what? Let me figure out what's transpiring. Let me figure out, okay, if I'm a part of this solution or if I'm just a part of, what's going to continue to happen. And I think if you turn a blind eye and you just sit there and say, well, I don't understand. If you post, I don't understand, then you're a part of the problem because you're not addressing the major issue. You're not trying to figure out what's going on and how you can live your life differently to be able to say, you know what, I'm a part of the solution because I'm not one of those people that's acting oblivious. I'm not one of those people who's living my life like everybody else and saying, oh, they're just crazy. They're doing this for no reason. No, you're actually informing yourself and you're actually trying to live and take steps in order to better yourself so it betters somebody else that don't look like you when you walk down the street. So that's one of the things that's hurtful and that pisses me off is that I don't understand. I don't know why they're doing it. Well, you know why they're doing it. Because of the racism that they've dealt with year after year. When you watch a man get killed and this dude is screaming for his life, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. His mom has passed away already, right? This dude is screaming for his mom.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? And then what's going through your head as an officer to where you've built up so much anger, right? And you've built up so much whatever it is that you got in your mind to where you got no regard for life. So if your knee is on somebody's neck, and you know how hard you're pressing out on somebody.
Well, he actually, if you look at the video, it looked like he lifted up and readjusted his knee to apply more pressure. But I think the more and more that the crowd was chanting for him to get off of him, I think the cop's ego is what urged him to keep going and keep applying more pressure just to let them know that he's in control of the situation. He's the dominant force.
You know what the sad part is, though? Obviously, a man lost his life. But the sadder part is that there's people around, right, watching a man die, but they're so afraid because they're black that if they were to go and try to get this officer off of this dude, they would have got shot just like that. That's the world we live in. That's how afraid a black man is when they see an injustice happening with a police officer with another black man that you're not even going to help. All you can do is pull out your camera and look. And to me, that's a crime.
Well,
That's a crime against humanity in a sense. I mean, not even in a sense. It is. Because I get it. The police officers, they're held to a higher regard. We're supposed to respect them. We're supposed to treat them, with the utmost authority, so on and so forth. But when you see them doing wrong and you can't even go, hey, man, get off this dude without the fear of being killed, I mean, that shit is wild to me, man. Because we can't stop a true life murder happening right before our eyes.
So what I will say to that, and then as a firefighter, I would feel some type of way if a civilian within us working in our scope was to come in and intervene with that situation. That might be that might cause for grounds for a totally different action to heighten up, because you do want to control the scene.
Right.
That is your job. Scene safety, control the crowd, having that one person trying to figure out what's what to gather everything down, because sometimes in certain neighborhoods it's just about when a lot of things take place, wild events, you can find that one person that's from that hood that you can identify with, that got that pulse on that neighborhood, that he can calm everything down. You can find that person. But in that situation, that was just pure ego, a guy using excessive force, overdoing his job, and taking the life of an individual that he was called for over a fake $20 bill. But you know what I mean? So it never should have came to that anyway, over the money. You arrest a guy for forgery and whatever else, and then you go on about your business.
But when it turns, excessive in that situation, if, the people that you hold in such high regard and you have, they are this authority figure, if they're not policing themselves, because there was about 3-4 other police officers there, if they're not policing themselves, at what point does someone else intervene outside of getting a camera and yelling, "Get off of them"? And that's not helping. I mean,
that's
so
the
I
only
get,
thing you can do as a civilian, though. As a civilian, I'm telling you,
I know that's right. That's the only thing we can do. But
that's not the right thing to do. What you want to do, because you coming from the mentality of, and you thinking the same way I think. If I see my dude getting his ass kicked, we getting our ass kicked together.
Right.
There's no in between. But what they did was they separated him and the guy. The other guy never got out the car. They sent the cruiser. They sent the other cop over there, and he sat with the guy in the car. And if you switch back, there's a video that you can watch where they like break it down in a real time, where they switching off until they do the different time frames and everything. And the cop is sitting over there, and the guy's asking about his friend and everything. He's like, well, once everything is done, they'll release him. And then he said, well, they're calling an ambulance for him. You know what I mean? So they separated his friend and him. So once they separated the two of them, they pretty much did what they wanted to do.
But that's the major issue, because now, or not even now, this has been happening forever. The major issue is they got a license to kill, a license to do whatever they want, because there's nobody out there to police them outside of a video camera. And we know, I mean, the video camera, it doesn't do anything for anybody outside of obviously show us what transpired. And then two, for a lot of people, like you said, it's just murder porn. That's all it is. That's all. This is still happening. It's still transpired on a day-to-day basis. So if we don't have that middle ground to be able to intervene or interject, and I get it. I get it. You don't want everybody interjecting in a situation.
I don't think
with
nobody
law
should,
enforcement,
because then it's gonna open up a whole nother issue. Because what's right, they're doing the right thing.
So I think you got to at this point in time, or unless people are going to
yeah,
start.
but then they're
going
to
keep killing people.
And then there's gonna be more deaths. Like you're asking somebody to step in. If a guy would have tackled that cop off of his neck, maybe it would have saved his life, but in the expense, it probably would have killed him. You know what I mean? So now it's a domino effect of multiple bodies laying in the middle of the road off of a $20 forgery
But
charge.
I'm coming from the standpoint of, okay, let's say this happens a couple of times. Now they know that, oh, shit, I'm not going to do anything like that without somebody coming and jumping on me. So now I got to be able to treat this situation completely different from the jump. So
there just needs to be
and already, Pitt, though, there's been the situations to where nobody's done anything, and we just still been holding people down and killing them. right in front of everyone.
The reality of the situation is,
Like, how
Beans,
does that change? Those
it's not going to change. You have to change the mentality of the person in general. The person that's policing the situation, the police need to police themselves. It needs to be it needs to be an understanding of where I'm working at, what neighborhood I'm working at, and I'm not fearful of my life in any way, shape, or form. I understand the danger of my job because being a cop, being a fireman, it is a dangerous situation.
Right.
You know what I mean? Your life is on the line every day, every situation. So the severity of that, yes, that is true. But understanding how to deal with people, how to communicate with people is key. I think that the best people, the best chiefs in the fire service and the police services is the ones that understand the community that they're in control of.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Understanding the demographics of each area, being able to relate to the public. That's the key thing. Being able to relate to the public. If you can come into a situation and diffuse it with you just figuring it out and understanding how to problem solve and just calm people down, it will help a lot. When you pull off, and this is my lieutenant even said this. There's a difference when you see black firemen coming into a black home. It gives those kids hope. It lets them know that they can sit there and be like, damn, I can actually go work this job. It's a belief. You know what I mean? It's an understanding. When they see black policemen that's not assholes or just in general, just minorities in a whole. When they see them patrolling their neighborhood or somebody that grew up in their neighborhood and they coming back and they kicking facts to them and they sitting down there and they having real talks with them and they understanding where these kids are coming from and they showing them a different outlet. Those type of situations help. You know what I mean? Like, I think the recruitment process in police and fire needs to change drastically. I think they need to put programs in these elementary schools. They need to put programs in middle schools and high schools and start teaching these kids more about public safety and just how to go about applying for these jobs and actually working these jobs. You know what I mean? Opposed to um, like we have a situation in place with the cadet program in Columbus, and I like it a lot. It's African Americans. It's ran by I want to say it was Chief Hap's program, but it's ran by Lieutenant Towns, uh, Quentin Eccles. Um, I can't think of Boyd, and she's a lieutenant now. I think her last name Salvador. Like they run it, and it's a great program, and it's helping minorities, but it's shining a different light. I just graduated from my class, and I was the only minority in there.
So, and that's another one of the issues that I want to get at, man. I get that if a child sees a black police officer coming to their home and help them out and talk to them in a certain way, and the same with a firefighter. But how do you get to a point to where you're not already behind the eight ball with this ordeal in terms of even applying or even just being able to get the job? Because for so long, like you was the only black person that was in that fire class pit. I know for a fact you weren't the only black person that took that fire test, or you wasn't the only black person that passed that fire test. So why is there only being chosen one out of many that have took this test? And not just for the fire department, but for the police department. If you know this issue is there and it's been there for so long, why aren't you doing more to hire people that look like these individuals in the neighborhoods that they'll be policing, knowing that it'll make them more comfortable, knowing that it may make kids grow up and understand that, okay, it's okay to be a cop, it's okay to be a firefighter. From a systemic standpoint, there's that built-in racism. You know what? We already look at police officers as people of authority. So now, who do I want to have that authority? Who do I want? This is just my opinion. This is how I view it. Who do I want these individuals in these communities to look at as an individual that has the authority?
So
is it somebody that's going to be black? I necessarily don't think so because we don't see it in the multitudes in which we should. So it's already, from that standpoint, you know, an issue, and it's already pitting black people behind the eight ball even further because you want to one up your counterparts, and those counterparts specifically talking about police, they just happen to be white or fire.
Behind the eight ball already, just from an educational standpoint. You know what I mean? Our school systems don't have the same resources that a Pickerington will have. Columbus Public does not have the same. My kids go to Pickerington schools. From day one, they've had Chromebooks. From the start of COVID, they've had Chromebooks. Columbus didn't get Chromebooks out to their kids probably till like 2-3 weeks into the whole epidemic. But as far as policing goes, in our community, it's frowned upon us to become cops. just from everything that takes place.
From the shit we just
From the,
saw
from the shit that
transpire with
we've
George
seen,
Floyd.
it's already frowned upon us to become cops because, quote unquote, you're not being real if you go out there and you become a cop.
Because you're dealing with you're
Just the
teaming
way
up with
that
your
you grew
opposer.
up. Yeah. So you're basically going against the grain in that
Mhm.
aspect of the situation. I think that mentality needs to change, but I also think that they need to dim a different light on that they need to create a different mentality with that job because the description of it does not look appealing to an African American male.
Mm-mm.
I mean, that's just what it is. That's my opinion, but it does not look appealing. The fire department looks very appealing, but you don't see them. You don't see a lot of you don't see a lot of black guys in the fire department. So when you do see one, you don't think he is quote unquote a nigga. You like, man, he a dude from the burbs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's how we view it. That's our image of public safety growing up in the inner cities. You know what I mean? I do try to make a conscious decision that when I go into my girls' school, some days I have on my uniform, some days I don't. You know what I mean? But they understood that they know I played ball. They know that after I got done playing ball, I'm a fireman. You know what I mean? They understand that this is a career that they can obtain. This is a good living. This is everything. I want them to be upfront and be personal to where. But I also think that those cops that's patrolling those areas need to go be in those schools. They need to build a relationship. They need to understand the lingo of the way of the town.
Mm-hmm.
They have to understand that when they pull up on the block, that two kids having a conversation and they're using their hands and they're yelling, that's just the way that they communicate with one another. It's not a dangerous situation. It doesn't account for you or afford for you to go reaching for your hip and making a situation extremely hostile when that's not what it is. Just understanding the way of the land and how everyone else operates would help a lot.
And this is bigger than a law enforcement issue, right? This is a national issue because we see it from
It's
so many
morals.
different.
It's a moral issue.
It is. You have a moral compass that's built within you that tells you, okay, am I going to be one of those individuals, like I said earlier, that is a part of the problem or is a part of the solution? Well, we know racism in this country has been an issue for so long. And, right when you think we're making a little bit of progress, something transpires that shows us that we are no different or no further along than we were 40 years ago. And that's sad because, we have so many more outlets. We have so many more opportunities to be around individuals that don't look like us. But for some reason, it's still there in a major way. And this thing is it's about I'm
But
bigger
it's
than you,
also
you're smaller than me. I have more power, you're weak. At what point do we get over that and just decide as a
it's
society,
also what's taught though.
100%?
You know what I mean? It's what's taught.
I
If
want
you
the power.
basically if you teach your kids or to not see color and to you know what I mean, everybody is equal and to help just to be a decent human being.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it. I wouldn't say you wouldn't have these issues, but because these issues will still arise. But you know what I mean? It would help the situation. I do believe racism is taught.
I 100% agree. It's taught, and even if it isn't taught, right? You learn from what you see. So if your parents are just
So it's
not saying
taught.
just go and be racist, go and hate this person, but if you also got parents who don't interact with somebody that don't look like them, or only sticks to their kind, or whoever
So it's
their
learned
circle
behavior.
is,
So then that's learned behavior.
yeah. So you learn it in a different way. And that's just wrong to me, man. I just don't.
You just
Now I'm saying I just don't understand because I don't understand why you want to do that to yourself and why you want to do that to a child. Why do you want to teach somebody to hate?
I,
I can't. That's unfathomable to me.
it's too time consuming. You know what I mean? To hold grudges and to hate someone and to actually sit down and teach someone that it's too time consuming. It's more shit it's bigger fish to fry within a day. It's more things to handle. You know what I mean? We all have kids, and
And it's scary for our kids.
well, it's put it scratch that. It is scary for our kids, but both of us we sit right here and we both lost brothers. So
Right.
for our parents, right now, for us to leave the house, I bet you it's extremely scary for them. Me being my mom's only son right
Mhm.
now, you know what I mean? You have other brothers, but at the end of the day, it still doesn't change anything.
Right. Man,
So as a black woman, as a you know what I mean, that's a totally different situation because there's a lot of single parents out here raising sons on their own, and you have to hopefully your kid can survive the streets,
hmm
the police,
which is
and you know what I mean, and just life in general. You know what I mean,
this whole thing.
which is crazy. You know what I mean, which is a crazy situation, but. I mean, it's where we're at. Hopefully, we can move forward. You know what I mean? We've seen some crazy times. I mean, just being out here, and Columbus doesn't even look like Columbus or feels like Columbus. On Friday
doesn't.
night of last Friday, we were out playing spades, and then we get the call that Soul Classics got looted. From that situation, from us heading down there to Soul Classics to help our friend, our
hmm
brother, Deontay, secure his building, board up his store, just to see the multitude of just individuals and the diversity of people just riding down the street with masks on, slow rolling down High Street, phones out, doing donuts. You seeing multiple kids walking up and down the street. It actually looked like a scene and felt like a scene from The Purge.
100%. It
You
was
know what I
eerie.
mean?
I was thinking
was
as you were explaining. I was thinking the same
it was
thing.
extremely eerie. And you know what I mean? We were all out there till at least 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and we left because I had to go to work in the morning. But Deontay and them stayed out there probably, I believe, until the landlord came of his building, just to make sure that his property was secure and everything of that
And I
nature.
probably went to the next morning. Like I
And
said,
that wasn't until the next morning.
so if you left at 3:30, then I probably left at I don't know, probably 4 o'clock because I
Yeah.
stayed a little bit longer than you. But it's crazy and it's wild to think that Columbus, which is a city that's grown so much, that's so diverse, looks like a freaking ghost town outside. Outside of these walls we're in right now, you go outside, you go on Gay Street, everything is boarded up. And that's not Columbus. That's not Columbus. And it's like that all across the country in places that are just flat out afraid of being looted, afraid of, dealing with protesters, afraid of the police coming in different areas and, spraying mace or shooting rubber pellets that are, hurting people and changing lives. I mean, we're living in a time right now, man, that I never thought we would be in because I really feel like that we're living in those 1960s to where you had Dr. Martin Luther King going and protesting down in Alabama, protesting in D.C., protesting in all these, places across the world, specifically the United States. We're living the exact same world as 40, 50 years ago, man. And it's mind blowing to me that we are here and at this point. But I seen something on, and we're gonna move it along a little bit because I want to get to what can some of these solutions be. But I seen something on Facebook the other day, or 2 days ago, and this question was posed to black people, right?
Mhm.
It said, if you're black, how old were you when the police officer first pulled a gun on you? And at first I thought, like, man, why the hell would they post something like that? And then I thought, like, damn, I was 12 years old. Like, this is a reality for people that look like me. A cop comes into my crib, right? And he draws guns on me and my brothers. And you know how you are. Me and my brother getting into it at the house. One of my other little brothers calls 911. Our parents are at home. And my little brother just calling the police. Just one, he was joking around. Because like, if you guys don't stop him, I'm going to call the cops. But he calls the cops. The police come immediately. My older brother, I'm 12. My older brother is, 14. And then my brother between us, he's 13. And he's drawing guns on all of us. Our parents ain't home. I'm like, damn. And my brother Joey, the one that passed away, he grew up idolizing cops, wanting to be a cop. He wanted to be two things. He wanted to be a police officer, and he wanted to be in the military in some capacity. So think about how at 13, 12 years old, something that you grew up idolizing, right? How that alters how you see an individual in which you want to be. Like, he's coming in the crib and drawing guns because my younger brother called the police. Didn't say anything was going on. He said, hey, I need you guys to come over here because my brothers are arguing. Didn't say brothers was fighting. Didn't say anything was kind of violent. They come down drawing guns, bro. The scariest thing in my life. But to that post, I mean, do you got a situation that you can directly go back to where you say, how old were you when a police officer put a gun on you?
I think I was 16. We was leaving the boot, and we were at the gas station out there. We were too black at the gas station. It was too many of us. You know what I mean? The cops pulled up and they just instantly pulled out pistols. Um,
This is young
I
black
remember turning
kids.
my head and the gun was like directly in my face. As soon as that cop looked the other way, I pulled off on his ass. And I had no license, no nothing. But I mean, I'm being honest. I mean, that's the reality of just the way that we live, the life that we live in, and the world that we live in, and the things that's going on, the things that's transpired. You know what I mean? But to be honest though, this shit felt normal. It wasn't like it was a situation to where it was like I expected him to do that at
Right.
that age. You know what I mean? Like it's a totally different it's just different. That cop pulled up to a situation that he was unprepared for. He was scared out of his mind. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
sitting here and you see the let out of 200 black kids, and we're kids at this point in time because it's a high school teen club.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You see 200 kids out there and it's jam packed, and all you trying to do is you trying to get them off of Route 8 and back into their communities as fast as possible. You know what I mean? And that's the whole point of like, you know, you need to go out here and be able to relate to these people and understand these people, and you know, because like I say, like where we work at and in the field that I'm in right now, like I hate to say it, like I relate to a lot of the situations that's going on and to a lot of these houses and to these
Hmm.
homes that we walk into. I understand. You know what I mean? I know what it's like to have a parent on drugs. I know what it's like to we wasn't piss poor, but you know what I mean? We had a lot, but we didn't like everything wasn't there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we got Jordan, but we ain't got no damn car. You know what I mean? And there were some nights where there wasn't food, but my mom hustled and she figured it out. So I can relate to these kids. I can relate to the kid that's sitting over there living with his grandmother. You know what I mean? And they're stressing the hell out their grandmother and trying to drive them crazy. You know what I mean? It's it's a lot that's going on, and I think people need to step outside of their bubble that they were
Hmm.
raised in, appreciate what's going on, and it's time to have those honest conversations. You know what I mean? If a guy in the firehouse wants to sit there and be like, Pitt, how was it for you growing up? Like, break it down for me.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm willing to have that conversation. You know what I mean? Because a lot needs to be opened up. I can say college has opened my eyes up to dealing with a lot of different issues in life. You know what I mean? Because I was one track minded. I remember
Right.
when I first got here, Troy was like, "You need to smile more, man. Be happy for to just be here." You know what I mean? Like this is cool, but you know the reality of it is, it's like, man, shit, I don't know if I can trust these people up here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the truth, though, man. It's not like you're going into a situation of unknown. So we all had to build up that trust within the university of putting trust in our coaches, our academic advisors, and our teammates. You know what I mean? To know that we're going to be secure because you grow up, and we all grow up in our own bubble. But getting used to being uncomfortable made me comfortable.
This thing is. I'm going to keep using the word wild and crazy and scary, but it is not only for me though, but just for it makes me not scared for my life as a black man, but my kids. I'm raising two black sons, and when I'm watching the news and I gotta have my son, my 8-year-old son, next to me, and say, "Dad, why are they out there doing that? Why are they out there protesting? What's that about? And then why they break it in stores if they're out there trying to protest for better cause? Isn't that defeating the purpose?" This is my 8-year-old son talking to me. I'm like, "Yeah, but people are fed up, and you have, and I gotta really break down and decipher. Okay, on one hand, I'm telling them about the protesters. On the other hand, I got to tell them about the looters and why they're burning fires and why they're causing big riots. And it's hard for an 8-year-old child to grasp and fully understand what's transpiring. But this is going to be embedded in his mind, and not only my son, but all the other minds of young kids out there that are seeing this. Like, okay, this is normal. What's transpiring? That ain't normal.
So
It's not normal, and it's hard.
so I think the biggest issue it's not normal, but the biggest issue with our kids growing up is they don't understand or know our history because they've stripped Black History Month out of the schools. It's out of the curriculum now. They might post pictures and they might do a poster board of their one
Short
African
ski rising.
American that they can go find, that they can do a book report on. But as far as like breaking it down and going through everything, that's out of the curriculum now. You know what I mean? And so to them, they've never seen it. I remember and this was like hilarious. I was down in Houston when I got hurt. I was doing my rehab and everything, and I was living with Twan and them. And Twan's youngest son at the time, Ethan, um, right next door to their house was a white family.
Hmm.
And this family, they would bring food over, like brisket, come over, barbecue, like, everything was cool. Ethan sat up all night and watched Mississippi Burning. He sat there, he watched
How
Mississippi.
old was he?
He might have been like 5 or 6. He sat there and watched Mississippi Burning. And this is the honest truth. Kids are smart. They pick up on things. He went outside the next morning, playing with his white friend. He told him we can't be friends no more. Basically, he watched that movie, broke that movie down for what it was, said we couldn't be friends no more. The parents come knocking on the door. They have a conversation, and it all came from just the movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they found a solution. They found a common ground. They sat there. They figured it out. They kids talked. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was a learning issue for both of them, though.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But it was a real situation in real time. But as adults, we sitting there, we laughing it off because it was hilarious.
Right.
It was a hilarious situation that he watched that movie, came out, not went outside, and then basically seen racism in the movie, and that's probably his first experience with racism.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? As a kid, that was it for him. You know what I mean? But I mean, their situation, their friendship continued. But I'm just going to show how impressionable like kids are. Like you
Right.
can just basically see a movie, they can break it down, and then they can just go out there into the world and just form their own opinion on it.
I guess I want to, talk about, you know, yeah, we bring awareness to it. We've been bringing awareness for God knows how long. Obviously, you and I know about Martin Luther King. You and I know about Malcolm X.
But those are the
Um,
main two that everybody that the book
Right,
and
so
the world pushes on.
We know
you.
about
You know what I
we
mean?
know about Fred Hammond and
Like
the Black
Sojourner
Panthers.
Truth, like they don't go into breaking it down anymore. Like there isn't a curriculum. Like there's not an AFAM teacher in the schools that's going through it. There's not a lot of first of all, there's not a lot of black teachers in these buildings in
Right.
general.
So I get that and I agree, but what I want to go to is we're aware. Yeah, we can be more educated on some of the individuals that came before us. Cool, fine and dandy. But now that we got the ball in our hands, right? As the people, how do you find solutions to this deal?
I think
That's
it's hard to find a solution when people are still sitting out there. When you have the guy who just got arrested, and I want to say DC, when he pulled the AR out on the mass of people,
right.
it's hard to find a solution when there's the video of the black female on her knees praying, and then the cop throws her down, and then the black police officer chases him back,
Mhm.
and she's hitting him and yelling at him, telling him how wrong he is. You know what I mean? It's hard to find a solution when there's multiple clips of that, and it's still going on and on and on. You know what I mean? There's a guy who got killed by the police in Louisville a couple nights ago during a protest. So there's hard to find a solution, but then there's still the situation in Atlanta that no one's talking about. The jogger the black male who
Yeah,
got
Aubrey.
killed, who was jogging. You know what I mean? And it took almost 2 months for those guys to get arrested. Right. And if that doesn't get resolved the right way, there's going to be another protest. So it's not the end. It's just basically just I don't know how to fix it.
So I wonder what's going to be the end result. Like, when is enough going to be enough? Obviously, we know what they're doing. We know you can tie it into COVID, right? You shut the city down, you shut countries or the country down long enough, they're going to want to reopen because of the simple fact from an economic standpoint, people are going to start losing dollars. So you got to open back up. So in this situation, what is the end result or what's going to be enough for one? I don't think we'll ever eradicate racism in its entirety. I think that's something that you're always going to have certain people out there. But what's going to be enough to satisfy the people? Like, what are we going to?
People are never. You can never be satisfied until it's equal playing grounds, and that's just the reality of it.
So, do you think we ever get there?
I don't think you ever get there.
I don't think we'll get there in my lifetime by any means.
I think these protests and being heard is taking a step in the right direction, and we have to continue to push awareness. And you know what I mean. You're starting to see. You're starting to see in Houston where the fire chief came out. The chief came out and they put their batons down, they put their hats down, and they marched with the people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They understood what it is. It's like, we're not going. This is our city. We need to protect our city. That's unity. That's them coming together as one, trying to make a better stance, and give us the assurance that, you know what I mean, as a fire chief of me being a head of this department. This is my stance on this situation. I'm going to make sure that my guys are out here doing better. They know better. They understand more. So when a routine traffic stop or a forgery charge, or however the situation may be, that everyone feels comfortable. Because for a long time now, it's not going to be to where everyone feels safe. I just traveled to Dallas. I went down there. I left. I just got back yesterday. So what's today? Tuesday? Wednesday. Today's Thursday. Today's Wednesday. So I got back yesterday. I think I left Monday. I traveled in my fire T-shirt, and just to you know what I mean, because they were out there protesting. It was a lot going on in Texas, but ultimately I travel like that because I'm going into a state to where it's a gun-toting state, and to be like, shit, I want you to know, look, I'm coming down here on a mission to get my child. Right. This is what I'm here for. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean, you have to protect yourself in all ways. And with me working in public safety, I still understand that outside of my bubble, I still have to take the proper precautions. And it shouldn't be like that, but that's the reality of the world that you live in.
Yeah, I mean, this ordeal, man, I just don't know the end result, man. Obviously, I'm going to keep on talking about it. I'm going to keep on trying to bring awareness. I'm going to keep educating, those around me, my kids. It's just scary, man, because you don't know what the ultimate outcome is going to be. And then
I think creating programs, creating outlets, creating just honest conversations, and it has to be honest conversations.
But a conversation has to go somewhere at some point in time. It's going to be, we've been talking for so long. This is how we got to this point because we've just been talking about it.
But don't nobody want to hear the truth. That's the thing about it. A lot of minorities have been in position to where they didn't have the power to speak on social issues. You just didn't, and it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, you've been silenced for so long. I just think that people are just fed up with it, and these protests is the beginning of us speaking up on what's right and what's wrong. You know what I mean? And it's just like
I'm just saying we've seen this before though.
We have.
Seen it before. We've seen it with Rodney King. We've seen it with we've seen the protests with Tamir Rice.
Mike Brown.
We've seen it with Mike Brown. We've seen it before. We've seen the rioting. We've seen the looting. We've seen it before, and going back into the 60s and 70s. So what is going to transpire next to say, all right, we don't have to do that now. What's going to – and this has to come from government. It has to be something that comes from government to where they put some type of bill in place. I don't know, Spence, you suggested that every police officer wears a body cam. Every, firefighter, I don't know if firefighters have to wear a body cam because we're not looking at situations with them, but every police officer wears a body cam, and when they go into communities, if they don't have that on, then they're fired. So
they do.
That's one.
It's
not
up
all
to
of
them
them.
If they turn them on. No, they have them.
All of them have them?
CPD got them.
Well, I mean, in Columbus, but I'm talking about just across the country.
Well, then honestly, an expense thing. You know what I mean? There is grants out there.
We pay enough taxes to get all across the country to be able to, buy cameras for every cop.
I get it, but when you breaking down numbers and
somebody's hoarding the money. That's what that is.
Hey, somebody need to take a pay cut to make sure things get right. But I'm talking about from a guy that worked in a smaller department in Middletown to where all the resources aren't there. It's just not. You know what I mean? You got frontline fire trucks that's piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of these departments don't have the resources. That's why you have volunteer fire departments and you have other things like that. You know what I mean? Some towns don't even have their own police department. They use the sheriff.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just because the resources aren't there. But what I can say is in towns where resources are there, like when I worked at Washington Township in Centerville, they had a program to where, opposed to giving a kid a felony, they had them come in the summer and do like clean the firehouse, paint this, paint the hydrant. It's like community service work to stop them from preventing them to fucking up their juvenile record or creating a criminal record in general that's going to prevent them from getting a job when they turn 18.
Right.
You know what I mean? Those are the type of solutions that need to be in place for our youth and our communities, just so they can understand and know what it is, because a lot of them do get to 17, 18, and they get a charge to where they get charged as an adult, and it sets them back for life.
Right. This is why, man, now more than ever, I believe that it's important to go and do your research, one, on whoever uh, that political figure, maybe whether it's the mayor, whether it's somebody in the judicial system, the governor of your state. Now more than ever, it's so critical to vote because you have an opportunity to impact change with voting and figure out who it is that's going to best represent you and your causes and what you stand for and believe in, and take action by going to the polls and voting. Because I think right now, I mean, we're living in the world right now to where there's such a big distraction, right? That's going to negate people from going out and vote. I don't want to go here because of this. I don't want to go downtown because I don't want to deal with the protesters and I don't want to deal with the traffic. I don't want to deal with the police officers and the parameters that they have for me to get into this voting poll. But now, more than ever, it's important to take heed and go and cast the ballot and pit whoever you want to be the district attorney, whoever you want to be the city attorney, this, that, and the third, and people that are going to affect change in the right way. So that's the important thing right now on that end. I think that's how you can kind of start to have solutions. Obviously, nothing's going to be overnight, but when you take into consideration, you're putting people, the right people in positions of power that are going to help everybody, that's where it can start. But I want to dig in a little bit on college football, and not even just college football, just pro sports, college sports. But one, I want to get on college first. How much of an impact do you think what's going on with this George Floyd situation has at major colleges in terms of recruiting? If you're a kid and you don't have a coach that comes out and takes a stand against what's going on, and not only takes a stand, and I'm talking more than just sending a tweet. I'm tired of the tweets. I'm tired of the social media BS and that being it. People just joining along and pouring in on social media just for the sake of doing it and say, I did it. I tweeted this and I said that and I did the Blackout Tuesday. That isn't enough to me. How much of an impact do you think is going to have moving forward if programs and coaches don't come out and speak out against it? One, but two, take correlation action to what they're speaking on.
So I feel different on a lot of major college programs in general, like Alabama, for everything that took place in Alabama, how they didn't want even African American players for so many years,
Mm-hmm.
and now you look at all they recruiting right now is African American players for the standpoint of for them winning national championships and everything else. But as a parent right now, I'm sitting here and I'm looking back at like a Dabo Sweeney and his comments from the Kaepernick situation to now to where he's saying a bunch of nothing to then the article
Bunch
coming
of
out
nothing.
of the player basically saying that another coach called him a nigga and Dabo did nothing in between that. It's extremely hurtful. It's extremely distasteful. And as a parent, I'm trying to remove my kid as fast as possible from that situation.
Right.
This situation then got bad. You can look on Twitter and you can see the AD even stepped in and
Mm-hmm.
they're investigating the situation with the coach, and it's been confirmed that it was true.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's a huge issue. That's a huge issue because for one, you're sending your kid to South Carolina, which isn't the safest place for a minority.
Right.
It is what it is. I took a fire test in a small town in South Carolina, and damn, I wish I could think of the name of this. And I swear to you, and it's about to be like a hilarious story. So we pull off, we go stay in Georgia at my sister's house the night before. I got family in Commerce, Georgia. We get up in the morning and we just hightail it straight to South Carolina. I tell my girl, I say, hey, stop at this gas station. I need to get something to eat real quick. Put something on my stomach because I got to take a physical test and a written test.
Mm-hmm.
So I go over there, stop at the gas station. There's a whole bunch of like swastika signs and everything in the bathroom. And it's like a whole bunch of just crazy stuff. So I'm like, whatever. Pay it no attention. Like, shit doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? I'm not one of them people that get riled up off of just off of anything. Like, you really have to do something to me for me to feel some type of way about
Right.
it. So I go over there, I grab a muffin and something to drink. The muffin was like 65 cents. I tried to pay the lady $1. She's like, no, that's not what it is. That's not what it costs. I'm like, damn, is it more? So I'm trying to offer her more money. She's like, no, that's not what it costs. She basically goes back over there, see that it was less than what I was trying to give her, told me I need to learn how to read the sign. So I'm like, all right, let's get up out of here. So I go take this physical test, bro. I'm the only minority there. I'm the only black guy there. Um, and as I'm getting there and you start to look around, you're like, damn. Like the quickest, the fastest Waffle House, Walmart, anything was like 30 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
So this was in the middle of nowhere in South Carolina, and I didn't know. This was just
Right.
me applying for a job. They were hiring at the time, and I'm looking to get full time. So I didn't know. I didn't do any research
Right.
in this anything. I was just looking. I'm just applying for anywhere that I can go at the point in time. I'm like, you know what I mean? I can leave Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? My kids weren't living in Ohio at the time. They both were in Texas. So it was like I had my girl. We had figured our relationship out, and it was just like, but I need to do something for myself at this point in time. So get there, take the physical test, and I kills the test. The first thing the dude says is, "Damn, ain't never seen nobody run the test like that." What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting there like, all right, cool. So I take the written test. I know I did good on the written test. So I remember calling back down there. The lady was like blatantly like, "Don't call us, we call you." You know what I mean? Never heard back from that department ever again. So just understanding the time frame of just how South Carolina operated for myself, and then just knowing how just Clemson is a small bubble of South Carolina.
Right.
But I mean, the university's in a small bubble of South Carolina. But understanding where he stands on that and knowing that I wouldn't feel secure
What
with
did
him having
Dabo?
my kids
What did
back.
Dabo exactly say?
He really didn't say.
With the Kaepernick situation.
With the Kaepernick situation, he basically was talking about how he didn't agree with it and like he was wrong for that. And if we had a national anthem, which we don't do one at our program, I wouldn't allow my players to take a knee on that. You wouldn't stand and say that it's disrespectful. And then he went on to basically say it's black people have a lot of rights and everything else. I mean, you have a 2-term black president. You like
That's
Martin
so
Luther
lazy
King
right there.
wouldn't. Martin Luther King and them. That's like these are things that he wished for is actually happening for black people and things of that nature. Like that's pretty much how he broke the
Not
situation
addressing the
down.
shortcomings in which they do experience.
Well, it's not even that when you basically say that you should be grateful for what this man marched for, as if it should just be equal in general. You shouldn't have to be grateful for getting a little bit. It's like shit. Okay, here's my crumbs. Eat them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that shit shouldn't be cool. But
Take that right there, boy.
yeah, like from that standpoint right there, it's just not cool. Everything he said was just pure ignorance. And like Chris Long played a clip on his podcast and that he uploaded on Twitter of like a 8-minute rant of Dabo saying nothing, like absolutely nothing.
It
I'd
was
rather
trash. I listened to it yesterday.
I can't encourage these coaches to come out and say something, but you have to
I can.
because you're pulling these kids out of like life-changing situations. Like coming to Columbus is a better life for a shitload of other kids. You go on the heart of Florida where Santonio and Albert Dukes were from, or you look at a situation to where, you know what I mean, parents are moving in with their kids because this is a better opportunity.
Right.
These resources that Columbus provides and this program, the opportunity that this program gives their kid, actually gives their parents hope to be like, man, I can go better myself. You know what I mean? So there's a lot. I didn't mess the quote up, did I?
No. I'm gonna read it real quick, man. I hate to see what's going on in our country. I really do, because I think this is a good world. I think this is a great country. It's just that things get painted with the broad brush in this world these days. I think a lot of things in this world, not everything is so bad. The world is falling apart. Some of these people need to move to another country. Like, come on, bro.
You keep
I'm gonna
going.
just stop right there. Some of them need to move to another country. Like, I'm not condoning anything Clemson right now. When I see anybody that says
But he
some
just
of these
spoke
people,
out on it. A lot of them coaches feel the same way.
yeah,
and
exactly. That's why I'm just because he
in a-
did be
in an
ignorant to speak out on that.
in all my years of playing football, I was told by a coach, I'm not going to say where, I'm going to send you back to Akron to sell dope. This was a real situation that took place. I had no faith in that man from that day forward. And those who know the situation, they know the situation. And it's a real situation that took place. And that happened to me when I was 18 years old. So, with that being said, that shit happened.
Yeah, but nonetheless, man, him speaking out on that,
But that's the
and publicly
belief of
saying that,
but that's the belief of a lot of
I
coaches.
agree. But yeah, you believe that,
Bro, that was a conversation that someone said to me when they thought it was just me and him there,
right?
but it was other people there, and other people heard it.
That's bad, man.
And then it got rephrased to some other where he tried to laugh and joke the situation off. You know what I mean? So it's not fair. You know what I mean? These are the beliefs, and it's just
Yeah, but
happening
the
to
fact that
come
it's
out.
coming out saying that, bro, I'm
I
not.
would rather it come out than for it to be hidden, though. I would rather know where we. I like to be on even playing ground. It's never going to be even playing ground, but I like to know where I stand because it makes it easier for me to learn how to navigate and maneuver my way through this situation with me knowing where I'm at with you and where I fit in on your spectrum. You know what I mean? If I know that we ain't cool, this is just a business opportunity. You need to get yours because I'm gonna get mine, and then we split our ways and we don't ever communicate after that. That's fine.
Yeah, that's cool, but man, this is college football where you're taking kids out of different states, moving them across the country, and entrusting them. You know, it's more than a business opportunity because parents are entrusting that child
You are,
with the coach.
but
A
at the end of
coach
the
comes out and
day,
says,
this is a
go to
business for
another
the
country,
coach.
some of these people, because of how you feel and the stance that you want to take on the injustices in which you experience and people that look like you experience, and you tell me to go to another country? What country, bro? Really? Dabo, what country are you talking about? Because last time I checked, these kids in which you recruit, majority of them were born in the United States. Majority of their parents were born in the United States. Majority of their grandparents were born in the United States. So what country are you talking about going to, and who specifically are you talking to when you say that? That's the laziest thing that I hear people say is go to another country. How can you sit there and fix your lips to say that? Well, this is a country that my people that look like me, helped build.
Built a
Like,
lot of it.
come
And was
on.
stripped of it.
That's bullshit to me right there. That just
It is
that
bullshit,
angers
but
me when I hear people, especially somebody in position of power like Dabo Sweeney, who his salary has been made off of the backs of young kids. A lot of times, more so. Well, I mean, it's a group effort, but I know a lot of his star guys, in which we know are black kids.
yeah.
Like, come on, dog. I wouldn't encourage no kid to go to Clemson after reading that.
But it's a lot of these programs, a lot of these coaches that's just not coming out and saying anything. You
And
know
I'm
what
saying
I mean?
if they don't come out and speak on it, if you don't come out and tell me how you're going to have an action, I'm not sending my kid to that university. Period, point blank. I can't do it. I can't feel comfortable doing it. And, for the parents that do watch this and listen to this podcast, I'm going to flat out say it. If you got a kid that's being recruited by a university, and that university, from the AD to the president to the coach, doesn't come out and tell you what type of plan we're going to have in action to where my child doesn't experience that, or if I'm recruiting a white kid, what type of plan am I going to have in action to where my kid is diversified and understanding ways to deal with different things that his counterparts may deal with? I don't want you in my living room. I don't want to go there, and I encourage the parents, don't send your kids there. Because what are they learning? They learn how to play football. Yeah, they may win national championships. But shit, right now we're in a situation to where we don't even know if we're going to have college football. We don't even know if we're going to have sports. And you got to live in the real world and deal with real life things. So what do you do then if he's not prepared and equipped? So for me,
Well, a lot of the kids they're not gonna be prepared and equipped even after they lose, even after they leave the institution that they're at, because
that's why I ain't going at this point in time.
You're only trained to basically play football. You're here for this. This is the reason that you're here. You're not out here networking and trying to build relationships for life after this sport. You know what I mean? Now it's just starting to be cool to where, you know what I mean, guys are getting smart and they're creating their own YouTube or their own Twitch, or, you know what I mean, they've built up a social media following. You know what I mean? If I'm a college athlete right now and I'm a big time guy, I'm making my own merchandise and I'm selling it ASAP. Because university can't stop it. I wouldn't print. You don't use the block O,
Right.
but like Lamar Jackson did, he does those his own little T-shirt line outside of. It's not a Nike shirt. It's not anything. It's his own thing that he started. He makes his own money off of it. But I think those are the avenues that college players need to do. Start taking advantage of your own likeness and preparing yourself for life after football. Because you're looking at two former players that sat here and once their football career were done, were fucking lost. You know what I mean? And it's not like you can go back to that institution or whatever and be like, hey, I did X, Y, and Z. So what's up with a job?
I wasn't lost though.
Okay. Okay.
No, but
Okay.
I get what you're saying. 100%.
Okay. But at the end of the day, you didn't get any backing from. You didn't get the support that you thought that you
Right, the thought was going to be there.
that you thought was going to be there. You know what I mean? And being able to navigate your own way through it and create your own lanes. You know what I mean? Like, it would be super cool if a guy right now that's playing, like, after his home games at 2:00, at noon, he go and do Buckeye Fever at night or something like that. You know what I mean? Or there's a platform created for him to go ahead and break down the film, or he just start doing media or You know what I mean? He controls a camera for basketball. Lettermen Row. I
Lettermen
mean,
Row.
it's
Yeah.
it's a hell of an opportunity. You know what I mean? Like you give him a camera, you start letting him like do photography or just learn how to just create different avenues for themselves, teaching them a trade. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot that goes on, and there's a lot of black athletes that once their career is done, they go back to their hood and they go back to what they know,
Right.
and all they know is the streets. You're an educated thug, you know what I mean? Like, and I won't even say you're a thug, like yeah, you just out there, like you educated and you in the grind of what you know, and you going back to what of just what you were taught, and that's not, and that's setting yourself up for failure. Like you know what I mean? Like that was my biggest thing once I got done. I just never wanted to move back to Akron. I just never wanted to move back to Akron because I knew the outcome and what would take place if I moved back to Akron.
Yeah. I mean, this whole ordeal, man. I want to keep on saying it. It's just wild, and you know, I can't fathom, what's going to. I just can't understand it for its entirety. Um, well, I'm sounding like the people who I'm talking about on Facebook that say they can understand it. I can't understand that we're still in this situation. I know why we're here, but it's just so mind blowing to me that we are because it's so nostalgic of 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, just what's been continuing to happen, and I think, it has to be a change moving forward. It definitely has to. Digging back in on the world of sports, um, what type of stand do you think? Well, we already tried it. You had the NFL Players Coalition, to where you got Malcolm Jenkins, you had a Eric Reed, a bunch of individuals, Anquan Bolden stepping up, trying to be at the forefront of obviously the Colin Kaepernick movement in which he started
And
for
what
for
was his
equality.
movement?
The- Police brutality.
But the NFL did release a statement talking about they don't pretty much on the situation with George Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
They released a statement, but this man still doesn't have a job.
Yeah. And this is exactly what he was talking about.
like this is like
I,
it's crazy, man. Like it's mind blowing.
I think we have to have a group of people come together because even with the Players Coalition, you had Eric Reed say, I'm not a part of this anymore because him and Malcolm Jenkins are going back and forth. And then we had the deal to where, they're going to get into it, pregame, talking about dumb things that really draw away from what you're all trying to do. So you got to have a group of people come together and formulate a plan and stick to that plan to where it's going to eradicate a lot of different things. Obviously, I don't think racism will ever be fully eradicated, but I think the information has to be out there for people to be able to dissect, understand, educate themselves to be better moving forward. And how do you do that?
So I think the Eric Reed and the Malcolm situation, you know what I mean, it draw it away from the it draw attention away from the real cause only because we didn't get the backstory of what them two were beefing over. Something transpired in there in which it was a disagreement.
What was the money deal? I don't think Eric Reed thought that taking the money from the NFL that was going to go to an abundance of different programs was enough, or I don't know if he wanted to take it at all. But I think you got to take something because, like I said before, if you don't take anything and if you don't take some type of action or accept something on the behalf of this, that, and the third, then what's the end result?
So
then we just keep rotating and we keep talking about it. And I think that's where Malcolm and Anquan was. Okay, what do you want for us to happen?
I think they ultimately wanted Kaepernick to have a job.
Oh,
I think that was Eric Reed's stance on it. Like, no, we're not going to take what they're offering us until our mans get a job or a fair shot at some type of employment. You know what I mean? I think that's what it was.
Which he certainly should have had.
Taking peanuts from $1 billion industry, you know how I know the taxes that are taken out.
Right.
You know what I mean, from those checks, and you looking back at the neighborhoods in which we used to have to go to get haircuts and things of that nature, and you sit back like damn, this look worse than Akron.
Right.
You know what I mean, or like there can be a lot more done though, man. That's the reality of it, man. There's a lot of resources out here, and
but it starts with something happening.
But nobody wants to acknowledge it. The people in power don't want to acknowledge the something that needs to happen. You know what I mean? That's where everything goes wrong at when you turn a blind eye to it. You know what I mean? Like you can read the paper right now. You can see 4 guys going to a home invasion. Somebody gets shot. Everybody gets charged with murder. Cop kneels down, kills a black man in the street. he gets charged
Third-degree murder.
with third-degree murder, which probably will get reduced down to manslaughter.
Yeah, which
I
is
mean, because
basically third degree, but it's going to be knocked all the way down for sure, right?
In the between. You know what I mean? But so you're looking at it from that standpoint of, you know what I mean? Like, there has to be a system in place to where people acknowledge what's going on and they want to help. You have to want to help. You have to want to be a part of the solution. If not, you just keep turning a blind eye to it, throwing a small Band-Aid over a big hole, and it's not filling it, and then something else happens, and then you get more outrage, and then you get more, and then more people are sitting there, and they're questioning what's going on, and they're looking confused and dumbfounded on the issues at hand, and it never gets fixed.
Do you think if the police would have came out immediately and said, you know what, these guys are fired and they're being charged with murder?
They fired them.
Well, and charged with murder initially. Do you think we would have gotten to this point to where we're seeing the protests
I think we still would have got to this point,
that?
but I think there would have been a better understanding of what. You know what I mean? When you seeing your community crippled by drug charges that's sending people away for 25, 30 years. You know what I mean? Conspiracy charges on your friends, and you're seeing your whole neighborhood get depleted off of things like that. But then when you see blatant crime, blatant murder, and things like that, and then the delay for action to happen, it takes people protesting and outrage and things of that situation. You know what I mean? Like, they went out and they surrounded the cop's home. You know what I mean? And made sure that he was secure, and they brought him out. You know what I mean? Well, nobody ever seen him get arrested. He probably drove in and turned himself in.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? It's situations like that to where there's no understanding because it's not handled the same.
Right.
You know what I mean? You see a school shooting or the one kid who shot up the church. You know what I mean? They handcuffed him and brought him out in a bulletproof vest.
And took him to Burger King before he went to jail.
You know what I mean? They brought him out in handcuffs and a bulletproof vest, but they carrying us off in body bags.
Yeah.
So there could never be any understanding of that when it's always handled differently. You know what I mean? But it's time for people to not turn a blind eye to it or throw money at the situation, and everybody need to come up with a solution.
The solution, man, out the gate is just accountability. Start taking accountability. Start holding people accountable for the things that they do, and not just because of somebody looks a certain way. Being black, he's going to be held accountable, and his penalty is going to be much harsher. No, hold him to the same standard that you hold your other counterparts to. That's my deal, man. Just accountability. Like, we're not going to get to this thing overnight. We're not going to find the solutions, and nobody's going to have the end-all, be-all cure. But accountability and information. I don't know, but this is a suggestion. I mean, I was reading something, and I got to thinking, maybe this whole racism deal could be eradicated, I don't know, maybe 75% if out the gate, right? Kids go into schools, whether you're going into a white school or a black school, you have a program to where, I don't know, let's say twice a week, where whatever white school's over here, whatever black school's over here, they're integrating, and we got a class or a day dedicated to, race relations and how to deal with people that don't look like you, and how to just intermingle and intertwine with people that don't look like you, in equality classes. If that started from the time kids were in school all the way up, I mean, maybe that next generation will be a lot better off than us, because you know how to deal with people better. You know how to deal with somebody that don't look like you, and you understand this person's struggle. You understand why this person feel that way. I don't know, just a suggestion.
So
something.
That's like a wild. That's a wild scenario on the standpoint of the educational level isn't the same. So the curriculum, these kids don't learn on the same level. They don't understand. So you can create as many programs as you want, but if somebody's sitting there and they don't understand what they're being taught, it's never going to work. Because now you're going to start getting kids that's going to act out, because now they're sitting there like, you pushing this agenda on us, brother. We don't.
Well, it got to start with something. I mean,
so
if somebody got a learning disability, you help them.
I think
do what's best for them to learn.
Education on the same level, no matter if it's a private school education or public school education. I think trying to get it to where it's equal across the board. Everybody's learning the same thing at the same rate, and they all have the same resources to learn. You know what I mean? I think that would start, and that would kill a lot of ignorance, just because you know how to tackle problems a lot better. You know what I mean? When you got,
but if you don't know how to deal with what you're talking about,
but if you're
from
not
a
taught,
race standpoint,
if you're not taught how to handle an issue, or if you're not taught how to understand,
that's why you have the class. I mean, I get from a math in Columbus Public opposed to Pickering schools is going to be different.
Reading.
But I'm talking about reading. I understand all that, but I'm talking about something to where they're learning on the same level about one topic.
Yeah, I get that. But if they don't understand how to learn in general, they're not going to learn how to understand that topic that you're teaching. Like that's what I'm saying. If you can't break down it, if you can't digest the curriculum that you're being taught and process that information, how can you go out here and now you're gonna feel like it's a chore? Like you teaching me some more shit that I can't learn.
But I think it's ways to teach. I think it's
But
all
that goes
about the
back to
style of.
resources. If a kid learns on a slower scale, you that's what the I Promise School is. It's pretty much of kids that learn on a slower scale,
Right.
getting them back up to speed, and then they put them back into their classrooms after they catch back up and,
Yeah,
and a
so I
lot of
mean,
them excel. And
nonetheless, the people that do good in school, y'all all in the same class, just like you would be. The people that are learning on the same scale, cool. The people that aren't, we all put them in that same class. But nonetheless, we have that educational foundation of okay, where we're dealing and we're learning about race relations and equality and how to deal with people that don't look like you. So if everybody, you're gonna have certain people who don't understand and comprehend. You just put them in a class to where you got to break it down a little bit differently. That's just my solution, man. You got to start somewhere, and I just don't know that we'll ever get to a place to where it's totally eradicated. But I think the more information that we have out there, the more resources that we have out there, the more programs to where you're intermingling and intertwining so many different individuals of different walks of life. I think that's how you do it.
I think having honest conversations for one, um, and then creating outlets for our youth,
Yeah.
trying to figure out a solution for our youth. I think our biggest thing right now is protecting our youth and saving our own. You know what I mean? Everybody's so quick to handcuff these looters, these kids that's going out here that hasn't had a decent meal in months, hasn't had an outlet, hasn't had a strong foundation on education in months. They've lost their safe haven to where they go to school and they feel protected for 8 hours out the day. You know what I mean?
Right.
They miss the conversations with their teachers, their guidance counselor, their principal. You know what I mean? Their friends. You know what I mean? And people so quick to just arrest people nowadays, give them a police record, put them in the system, and throw them away. You know what I mean? Opposed to trying to create a foundation, a situation for these kids that they can learn from, they can build from, they can look at their mistakes and laugh years down the line like, damn, I was heading down the wrong path. I got connected with this guy. He changed my whole outlook on life. He's helped me so much. You know what I mean? Like those type of situations need to be in place. Those type of youth coaches. You know what I mean? Like even with the parks and things not opening up, we might not have youth sports this year in Columbus
That's
or
a whole other
Atlanta.
thing. We're dealing
Like,
with a whole
like
pandemic in the midst of this.
it needs to be. There needs to be something in place for these youth. I feel like those are the forgotten ones in this whole situation, man. And that's the sad part about it. I mean, I have teenage girls that's been in the house and they've been driving us crazy. You know what I mean? Like that outlet needs to happen. Like
And
something needs
sports
to
has
be in place.
always been an outlet
There's
for,
no
for
summer
kids.
camps for these kids. There's nothing. I mean, summer camps have been canceled already. You know what I mean? Like these youth.
I tell you what, if you don't want this country to go to shit, then you gotta obviously we gotta get cures for COVID, but we have to open it back up for, like you said, the youth, the people who are less affected by COVID, right? I know they got to go
I
home,
wouldn't say that.
but I know they got to go home and deal with parents and grandparents and so on and so forth. But you have to have, like you said, the outlet for the kids. You have to have the sports programs. You have to have different things in which these kids have an opportunity to release themselves and just have fun and get away from the everyday rigors of the world. And that's been sports for a number of years, while still informing them about what's going on in the world, but allow them to have that outlet, allow them to have some ideal or some sense of normalcy,
It's been
because you don't want this to be the imprint in which they have for an entire 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. You don't want this. You don't want this for them, because it's going to lead to so much. In my mind, yeah, they're going to be informed about things, but if all kids see is protest and looting, it's going to lead to a lot of different issues that may not be able to be fixed or eradicated moving forward in their
well,
life.
it's going to
So
lead to a lot of different issues, but it's going to it might cause like spark some ideas. You
right.
know what I mean? To do some more bad than good, man. And I think we need to find some outlets for these youth, man, for sure.
No, definitely, man. And I mean, I think that's a wrap on the show, man. We talked about a bunch of stuff. Um, and obviously, it was mainly about the race relations and some of the things that we thought on college football and coaches and how they should you know take stance, and universities, how they should take stance on these things and figure out different programs and different things that they're going to do to allow their kids that they're pulling out of different areas to be comfortable and to be well versed in how to deal with things. So, man, that's a wrap on the show. I appreciate you coming in. It's been a long time, man. This is just the intro. We're going to get back to a lot of stuff. The more normal we get, we'll get back to normal. And I mean that with the country. So thanks for listening.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Letterman Live, we've got the practice report, we got rapid reaction. Hey, and you know we got Buck IQ with Zach Bourne.
For sure. We got recruiting breakdowns with Berm. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.